Hello, my name is David Roach. I am the Dickey Family Director and CEO of the Heard Museum, and I'd like to welcome you to our first virtual art talk. Today, you're going to hear from three artists who are featured in the Heard Museum's new exhibition, Larger Than Memory. This is, in fact, the largest exhibition of contemporary art that the Heard Museum has ever organized. To make this possible, I'd like to thank a number of people. First and foremost, the Henry Luce Foundation, which was an early and significant supporter of this project. I also want to thank the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts and the Ethel and Kemper Marley Foundation. I want to extend special thanks to the supporters of the Grand Gallery Exhibition Fund, and of course, to you, our members. This exhibition, this publication, would not be possible without you. I want to invite you all to come down to the Heard Museum. We're open, and of course, your safety is first and foremost in our minds. The exhibition is waiting, and I think that you're going to find real inspiration in the work of more than 24 outstanding Indigenous artists. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Diane Pardue, who co-curated this exhibition with Aaron Joyce. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Diane Pardue, Chief Curator and Co-Curator for the exhibition Larger Than Memory, along with the Heard's Fine Arts Curator, Aaron Joyce. We're very excited tonight to offer our first virtual artist talk, and we are joined by three outstanding artists, Nanaba Chacon, Brad Kalheimer, and Stephen Yazzie. Now, when the museum opened in June, we had a number of safety protocols in place that continue. All of the staff members wear masks, and all of our visitors wear masks. With the pre-recorded programs that we have for you, and with the artists tonight, because the galleries are empty, you may see that some of us are not wearing masks. Now, the artists will be talking about their individual works. Aaron Joyce and I will be a good safe distance away from them. You may hear our voices, but you won't be seeing us on the videos. We hope that you enjoy this program. We would like to know if you would like additional programs like this, and so there will be a short survey that follows the program tonight. The program's length is about 30 minutes. We thank you for your generous support of the Heard Museum, and we wish you and your family members health and safety.
Do your intro.
Hi, my name is Brad Kalhoon, and I'm one of the artists in Larger Than Memory. Well, first of all, I'd love to thank the entire staff of the Heard Museum, and in particular, the curators, Diane Pardue and Aaron Joyce, who is here, and will prompt me with a couple of questions. I'm so happy to be here. In particular, because I was born and raised in Tucson, and have been to the Heard Museum many times over my life, and find it very inspiring.
Thank you, Brad. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspires you to be an artist?
Well, like I said, I was born and raised in Tucson. In particular, and it's been a lifelong interest, is the Sonoran Desert and the foundational culture that's in this particular area.
And you recently reestablished a residence and a studio here in Mesa. Can you tell us how that specifically impacted your artistic practice?
Right, so living and working in New York City, it was around 2001 with the World Trade Center coming down, and I decided I needed some space between myself and that, and I started working in my parents' house trailer in Mesa. Fast forward to now, I eventually bought it and decided to make this sort of satellite studio away from my space in New York City. It's been amazing to live and work in and create this work, such as the piece behind me, here so close to the Heard.
And how did you feel when you were invited to be part of this exhibition? What were your thoughts?
I was happy, extremely happy. As I said before, I've been coming to the Heard for inspiration many times, and to really come full circle is super meaningful for me. I remember early on going to see the Barry Goldwater collection of the Casino dolls here, super important foundation, amazing collection, and the sheer numbers of it, which then later inspired a piece I started in 1985, finally finished in 2012, called Bowery Nation. So for me, to be here now with different work is it's just super exciting and meaningful.
And has the pandemic affected your practice as an artist? And if so, how?
You know, for a lot of us, I was calling my colleagues back in New York City, and we were sort of commenting that for the artist, the studio artist such as myself, this kind of isolation is really just a way of life, and we just need enormous amounts of time to pursue all our interests. So I certainly have noticed it dealing with the institutions and my circle of people in the art world. As far as my own personal practice, I can't say it's really affected it that much.
This is a really large group show with 23 other artists and collaborators involved. Was there a work that you were particularly excited to see coming to the museum today?
Yes, Brian Youngin, for one. I had met him in New York City years ago. I'd heard he had done an installation up in Harlem, and at that time, I think this was late 90s, maybe early 2000s, there was no contemporary Native art, little awareness of it really from the East Coast art world. So to see his work here is particularly gratifying. And also the poem entitled Grace by Joy Harjo is very moving and super appropriate to have that. One other artist, the great Stephen Yazzie, who has a wonderful diptych here in the show.
And what is your hope for how our visitors engage with the works in the exhibition?
Well, for me, coming here so many times and walking away with usually an entirely different thought each time, you have such a historic foundational collection. To come here in contemporary times and get new revelations from inside to outside. I think that this particular show is very important in that this is a contemporary expression of the historic collection that the Herd is known for. So it is my great pleasure to introduce a wonderful painter I've known for many years, Stephen Yazzie.
Oh, hey. How's it going, everybody? I'm standing here in the Grand Gallery here at Berlin. Here at the Herd Museum. I'm glad that you could all join us tonight. I'm standing here with the lovely Diane Pardue, who's off camera right now, who's going to ask me a few questions as we move into this, in case I forget something. I guess what I'd like to talk to you about tonight is the paintings behind me. I have a painting here, a diptych called, what's it titled? Oh, Nature Doesn't Give a Blank About You, but it's sure nice to look at. Before I get into this particular piece, I want to talk a little bit about the Coyote series, which many of you might be familiar with. And it's a series I started in 2008, 2009. It was around the housing collapse era. And that body of work really served to, tell that story of new homes being built and often vacated, and how the coyote is a creature of adaptation and it's been part of the periphery of human civilization for forever, and how I thought it was interesting to maybe juxtapose their existence inside a home. And so that became a series that I really enjoyed working on. And then coming into this exhibition here, Larger Than Memory, I wanted to continue that or come back to that body of work and then add another element to it. And so I decided to do a self-portrait on a rock in the middle of the woods, and just really kind of build out this story of, trading places, so to speak, with the coyote creature. And, for me, this work, the two panels together, is really more of a reflection of, maybe my unenlightened self, out this place of wonder in the natural world as we sometimes find ourselves. And then, next to the coyote painting, the coyote sits and is kind of the story of nature and its persistence, in a room that's void of humans or anybody else. So that's nature finds its way in some form. So that's, maybe a little bit of a way into the work. If you get a chance to come down to the museum and you get into the gallery and you get to see this painting, there's a lot of little small details that I'm not going to get into here, but I think it'll be something fun for you to play. Diane has a few questions for me about some of my processes and some of my other work.
Stephen, you did the intro video, and you do a lot of work in video. You do a lot of work, obviously a lot of paintings. Can you tell us how those two different creative works inform each other?
Sure. So as many of you have seen, or if you've been here from the beginning, video, and that's some for, and I also do for auditions. But that kind of work, I think, is it also my video installation work and my other work that is more documentary film work. That type of work in particular is more about collaboration and bringing people together, around one idea. And then the studio work is really about painting work and building stuff in the studio is really about working by myself, being alone with the work and kind of developing things from that point. They do kind of cross over in the sense that they a lot of my core ideas are focused on are we still good? We have minor technical difficulties. We get where
One thing, you're good.
I guess. Oh, okay. So just to kind of get back to what you were saying, or what your question was, they do inform each other, and they although my core ideas are built around. Oh, here we go. The core ideas I work with are around land and place and land identity and how we are situated in the land. That's both sacred to us, to me as a Native person, also.
If you could step this way a little bit so people can see the studio. And now here's a difficult question for you, because this represents your studio. Is your studio really that tidy?
Is it very, so my process for creating new work is to clean everything up and to sweep everything under the rug, or just to get everything cleaned up and organized. But it's not really that clean in the studio, especially when work like this is getting developed.
So you have been in several herd exhibits, starting early in your career. What does it mean to be in this exhibit, this one?
I'm so grateful that I'm a part of this exhibition. It's been, this particular exhibition really exemplifies, that the Indigenous self-determination within the world of contemporary art. And I think it's important to for viewers that might, come, or visitors that are going to see the show, to really, maybe become a little more educated about contemporary art within the, the Indigenous space, and how creative and wide-ranging that is, for all our neighbors. So, yeah. So, with that, I'm not going to babble on anymore. I'm going to now introduce a wonderful artist coming out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, Nani Chico. And
Hi everyone. My name is Nanafa Chakwan. I'm a painter, a muralist, public works artist, do installation and large scale painting. And excited to be here.
So Nani, tell us what inspires you as an artist and what inspired the piece that you're standing in front of, what dreams are made of.
For the past couple of years, the body of work that I've been working with has really been about this conceptual weaving and taking two ideas or two images and kind of not inserting one above the other and making them interact on the same plane. And I'm really interested in what kind of narrative and connotations happen when we do that, when we don't put something in the foreground and in the background, when we let them exist together. And this piece in particular, I really wanted it to be about the idea of classic beauty and the connotations around beauty and what that looks like both culturally and what I guess as a painter, like the classical ideas of what beauty is. And so I chose roses and I chose a lowrider. And culturally for me, I think that these are both very iconic images. These are images that have meaning and bring about, I guess, an automatic response and feeling when you see them. Except not typically, they're not in a museum setting or in this format, not seen together. And so when I did this work, I really wanted to, in some ways, make these two images juxtapose, but also bring them together and provide a different narrative.
And this is a work on canvas, but it's not stretched. It's actually mounted on the wall with magnets. What was the impetus for that decision to not stretch the work?
Yeah, there was a couple of reasons. I saw James Carey Marshall's retrospective a couple years back when he had it. And I think seeing that retrospective was really just incredibly inspiring to me because he was a large scale painter. And I enjoyed the way that the pieces work within space. Sometimes I feel as an artist, and because I do work so much outside, I work in communities, I work in spaces, I work on walls, that when I'm inside of a museum, the usage of space becomes a lot more restrictive. And I'm always interested in the way that an audience can kind of come into the space of the work, if that makes any sense. And when I saw his work, even though they were paintings, all of them were kind of hung with these grommets and hung directly onto the wall. And I think that there is something very, something beautiful and something that makes it feel comfortable to have something installed into a work. It really makes you feel as if you are brought into the space of that piece rather than something just being kind of hung up on the wall and then taken away. It has a different connotation of permanence and impermanence for that matter. And on the other side of it, because I work big, this is really easy to take down and store.
And what does it mean for you, maybe personally or as an artist, to be part of this exhibition?
It means a lot to me to be a part of this exhibition. I think it's an incredible survey of Indigenous works across North America. Anytime I see an exhibition, I'm always looking at how those works retell a story when they're played against each other, and how work is then elevated by the works that it's surrounded by. And right now in this exhibition, I am surrounded by pieces that are very thought-provoking, that I think that we are touching upon some of the same concepts, but in completely different ways. And for me, that's always really, really fascinating. But then also to see the broad range of works and concepts and ideas that are presented. It really shows the diversity of ideas. I think for a long time, Indigenous works were kind of put into this category of existing maybe traditionally or existing around traditional thought. Here, there is definitely that across the board, there is no denying that there is Indigenous thought and philosophy in every work, but also you see the magnitude of pieces that show how that is played against contemporary society and roles that we take on in this time. So I think it's a very important show. It's very thought-provoking, and the pieces are there. It's great to see them all together.
And this is, like you said, it's a large show. There are 23 other collaborators and artists in the exhibition. Was there one work in particular that you were really excited to see when you came to the museum this week?
One work, yeah. I was excited to see Stephen's work. Stephen Yazzie, the one who just gave me that nice introduction. He has been a long time inspiration for my work. I've always enjoyed seeing his pieces and his process, and I feel like when I see his work in person, which has been very few times that I've actually been able to be in the presence of his paintings, I learn a lot. I learn a lot just by looking at his work. So it's been some time since I know that he's created paintings. He's moved into doing more video work. And so seeing something that was new, a new piece of his, was really exciting for me. And yeah, that was one of the first pieces that I was really drawn to see. But there is a lot of works in this show. Seeing one is really, really hard because there is a lot of works here that I'm excited to witness. Chanupa Haskell Luger, Brian Youngden, a lot of the sculptural works. Anytime I get to see works, I think so often we're used to seeing works on the internet, on social media, and you can never get the full breadth of a painting or a sculptural piece when you see it in a little tiny format. You have to see it in person to really have that awe, to see it in 3 dimensions, to see brushstrokes, to see, you know, the scale of it, because all of that was put into consideration by the artist. So yeah, there almost isn't just one. I'm really happy to see all of these pieces.
And we're still in the midst of a global pandemic with COVID-19. Has the pandemic affected your practice as an artist at all? And if so, how?
Yes, it has. I think it's fair to say that even if I wasn't affected monetarily or I wasn't affected production-wise, that I would still be affected, because we're all affected right now, and we're all going through something that none of us or our grandparents or parents have ever experienced. And with that in itself, there's no doubt that it's affected my thinking, my practice, my being, the way that I see the world, the way that I interact with it, and the way that affects the way that I think about pieces and the work that I'm making right now. On a more practical level, as a muralist and public works artist, a lot of the times my pieces are community engaged. They're socially engaged, and that has definitely been a challenge. It's been a challenge to meet with elders or meet with people in the community, have students, things like that. That's definitely been affected. And it's also, in the same light, been an opportunity to explore different and more creative ways to connect that are genuine. I think that's one of the things that I always want to do when I do community engaged work, is have genuine connections with people, and finding that when you can't touch them, see them, be in the same room is challenging, but I'm here for it, and I think that it's really interesting to find different ways to communicate and be with one another. Studio practice is kind of the same. As a painter, we spend hours and hours alone, sitting in the same spot alone. So in that sense, there's a lot about social distancing, social isolation. That's a part of my everyday life and hasn't changed too much. So yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, but some of the things are also very easy for me to adjust to.
And what is your hope for how visitors to the museum engage with works and the exhibition as a whole?
I hope that people still are able to come and visit and see this exhibition up close. I think that there's an advantage of having this space and not the density of people around. Sometimes I feel distracted when I think a museum is very crowded and I have to rush through, looking at titles and really ingesting work. So I really hope that when people come to see this exhibition, that they're really able to internalize it, that they're really able to look at the pieces and spend time with them, really understand the work, the time that went into each of these works, and also how they balance against one another. I think that that's really important, and take advantage of that. I've really loved being here and being able to witness this. I think it's a very important exhibition, and it's always amazing, I think maybe in the sense of the last question, that time is so limited. You sometimes we think that these things will be around forever, but it's really a wonderful moment to relinquish what we have and just take full advantage of that. So thank you. Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for being here. This has been a great experience. And yeah, thank you for tuning in.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Haggerty, Director of Strategic Development and Programming here at the Herd. I want to thank Nanaba. I want to thank Stephen, Brad, certainly our curatorial staff and the Herd staff for being here this evening and for making this program possible. I think it's safe to say that it's fun to see these works online in programs like this, and we're going to keep bringing these to you in the weeks ahead. So stay tuned. But it's certainly the case that to see them in person is truly spectacular and moving. So we hope that you'll be able to come here to the Herd soon and experience this exhibition for yourself. We know you will not be disappointed. So we hope to see you here soon. We again want to thank our foundation supporters who David mentioned earlier in the program. We certainly want to thank our Grand Gallery Fund patrons. And we also want to give a shout out to the Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture and the Arizona Commission on the Arts for their generous support of the Herd Museum every year. Following this program, we will have there's a short survey that should pop up on your screens. We really want to hear your thoughts. I've seen some great comments coming out. We're learning how to do this, and we're excited to keep doing better. And your feedback is going to help us do that really, really well. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for your support as members of the Herd Museum, and we look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to seeing you here at the Herd Museum very soon. Take care, stay safe, and be well.